Arthur Sinodinos, welcome back to 7:30.
Thank you, Laura.
Reporting at the time of the 2016-17 inauguration documented how the Trump team had not actually been expecting to win and had little, if any, plan for what to do when they did. As someone who's been in government, then watched the Trump administration during your time as Australian ambassador, what's your assessment of how prepared Donald Trump and his team are this time around?
I think, Laura, they're far more prepared. He's got a much more cohesive team. He picked his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, early on while he was at Mar-a-Lago, and she really brought the whole team together. They just come across as if they know more what they're doing. So this time, loyalty to him, fealty even, is an overriding consideration. And we've seen from the flurry of executive orders today, there's been a lot of preparation, including from outside bodies, like the Heritage Foundation and others, contributing to the policy development. So he knows what he wants to do. He's got his targets in mind. He's got the Congress. He's got the Supreme Court. He's got immunity from criminal prosecution from the Supreme Court as well. So in many ways, he has the equivalent in democratic terms of unfettered power, at least for the next 2 years, and he seems to be determined to use it.
Well, how much did Trump's first presidency actually change the underlying systems and institutions of government? And does the fact that he knows government better this time around suggest the change may be more substantial?
Last time around, there was a lot of activity, but I don't know that there was fundamental institutional change. This time around, with the Supreme Court, which is 6-3, there is more scope for him to use constitutional levers to change institutions and practices in the US even further. That doesn't mean that American democracy is suddenly going to disappear, but it does mean that he will have a lot more power to influence what is going on in the US in policy terms, in cultural terms. This is being seen in Washington, not just by partisans on the Republican side, as the age of Trump, because he's helped to define the issues and the policies to deal with those issues, and that is certainly something that is making an impression in Washington.
Legal experts say the various emergency powers he's outlined so far seem to be divided between the symbolic and the substantive. Which ones do you think will have the most immediate or significant effect?
I think there's no doubt in his mind the priority is effective management of the border. So you've seen a flurry of orders around that, sending troops down to the border, taking away some of the rights that asylum seekers and others had previously. The activity which is about to occur in terms of raids in various cities across the US, seeking illegal immigrants, undocumented arrivals and the rest. And tariffs also will be an important priority for him. He'll use tariffs for economic reasons, and he'll use tariffs for political and negotiating reasons with other countries. This is America first. John F. Kennedy used to talk about ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. Donald Trump is saying to the world, ask not what America can do for you, but what you can do for America. It's very much doubling down on this vision of America using her power in the interests of the United States as defined by him.
Now, there's been some scepticism about his talk in the various executive orders, for example, of removing citizenship rights for people who are born in America on the basis that that's in the Constitution. Do you see Donald Trump potentially pushing things that far, that he would actually seek to challenge that and push that through the system as far as the Supreme Court and beyond?
I think his operating mode will be to push some of these issues as far as he can and dare the courts and the law to rein him in or constrain him. I think he's going to be seeking forgiveness rather than permission in much of what he's going to be doing. And this will be a test of some of the institutions in the country. But the Supreme Court, okay, he may have a 6-3 majority in theory, but in practice, they are also respected legal practitioners. They're going to have to think long and hard about the extent to which they assist Donald Trump in some way amending the Constitution without the approval of the people by reinterpreting some of the long-standing statutes that he is seeking to invoke.
Internationally, President Trump said he wanted to be a peacemaker and a unifier, which he said would be defined as much by the wars which the US never gets into. But what does it mean for conflicts where the US influence has been indirect, such as Ukraine or the Middle East? How do you see Trump foreign policy playing out beyond direct conflict engagement?
When he says no more wars, he means that the context of that is that America was bogged down in Afghanistan and Iraq. And his argument is there are more pressing issues at home. So when it comes to some of these conflicts, his modus operandi is how can we fix this and fix this quickly? Now, of course, the Ukraine issue potentially might be settled more quickly than the Middle East, which has defeated many presidents before. But certainly his operating mode will be how does America do deals that get us out of these conflicts. Even in the Middle East, I don't think he's going to give Netanyahu perhaps the blank sheet that some people, or the blank cheque that some people think.
President Trump has declared a national energy emergency, saying he's going to end the Biden Green New Deal, the electric vehicle mandate and drill baby drill. How much will these things materially change world energy in the short term?
So there's one set of impacts Australia could feel from changes in energy prices. Energy prices could actually go down. But the second element of this, in terms of the broader climate debate, is that China will see this as an opportunity. So the danger here is that in areas where America vacates, there may be a temptation for China to play a bigger and more influential role. On green energy generally, the wall of money that is going into green energy across the world, the way in which the prices of renewables and other energy alternatives are coming down, means that it's not a lay down misere that the energy transition is halted in its tracks. There is so much momentum in that transition.
So finally, President Trump has spoken about taxing foreign countries instead of taxing American citizens via his tariff policies. And this is one of those interesting points about one foreign policy which will actually have a big domestic effect in the US. How quickly could that happen, and how is that going to play out when Americans find that they are paying higher prices?
Within the administration, there is a debate going on about whether to be general or selective in levying tariffs on foreign countries. And that debate is still to play out. But the challenge with tariffs is that they are a tax on your own consumers. It's like a sales tax, and it'll have regressive effects for American consumers and potentially inflationary effects depending on how big they are. So we could have, first of all, global trade implications from tariffs in terms of retaliation by other countries, and we may also have American consumers hit in a way that they did not expect.
Arthur Sinodinos, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Laura. Always good to see you.